let's talk about a mistake I see everybody making, and it drives me nuts. I've seen professional chefs make this mistake, and it always makes me cringe. And that is how to wash a knife. So there's a couple things you need to know about washing a knife. Number one, most important part of washing a knife is never scrub the edge. I see people, they're like, and then they stop and their sponge is like literally sliced into pieces, and they're like, huh, and they think it's great, and they're freaking idiots. Like that's stupid. Like, you do that, you're gonna cut yourself, right? So you never just scrub the edge of your knife. What you do is you take a wet soapy sponge and you very gently wipe down the side of your knife. If it's greasy, you can run it under hot water. Never, ever, 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 I can't say ever enough times to emphasize my point. Never, ever set a knife down in the sink. There's a million reasons for this. One is that knives don't like sitting in water. They rust and they dull really quickly. Like, even if you can't see visible rust, like that really fine edge, like it dulls infinitely faster when it's left to sit in water. The other reason is you put this in the sink, you put a couple plates on top of it, somebody reaches in there, guess what happens? They just cut the tip of their finger off, or worse. Like, I've actually cut my palm open because some idiot left a knife in the sink. And that doesn't matter for a little knife or a big knife. And these little guys can actually be even more dangerous because they're hard to see. If this guy's like sitting in like soapy water, like I saw one guy, he had like a bowl full of hot water, and he put his little paring knife in there. That knife was not visible at all. So anybody reaching into that bowl would have cut themselves. I was there, I told him to pull it out, pointed out his mistake. He got pissy about it. I heard 2 years later that he cut one of his fingers off. Guess he learned his lesson. But ultimately, like, anytime you don't have full eye contact with a knife, it needs to be in a safe place. These knives cannot be left in the sink under any circumstances, not even for a half a second, not even for I'm gonna go do something really fast. It needs to stay on the counter where it's in plain sight at all times. Now back to washing, sorry. I get really passionate about that point because I'm sick and tired of cutting myself because other people leave their knives in the sink. Guarantee that whoever is living with you will not be happy with it either. So to wash your knife, you basically just wash the sides of it, and you'll get the edge at the same time. Like, that's just naturally how you wash a knife. If it's got grease under it, you run it some more hot water, and you just keep doing that until it's clean. If you've got to wash this part, you hold it like this, and then you scrub the handle. Under no circumstances should your fingers be anywhere near the edge of a knife. It's just a recipe for disaster. And like those few seconds where you're not paying attention, where you're busy, you're multitasking, or you think you know what you're doing, those few seconds can end up costing you 8 hours in the emergency room. And every professional chef has been there. This is not just for everyday people. Pros do this too. Pros make these mistakes all the time because they get careless. They get a little cocky, and then they hurt themselves. And chefs actually hurt themselves really badly. Like, I had a friend of mine, he actually just cut off 2 of his fingers, like right at the knuckle. Like, we won't even go there. But you're washing your knife, and then you just rinse it off. And then the final most important step in taking care of your knife is after you've washed it, you dry it immediately. So when you're drying your knife, it's very similar to washing it. You don't dry the knife. Please, just please don't do that. Please don't ever do that. You dry your knife the same way you did with the sponge. You dry it like this, very carefully, the side of the knife. Eyes always on the edge. You never lose sight of the edge. You're moving slowly, you're moving methodically. You always know where this hand is, and you always know where this edge is. There is never any question. There is never any spacing out. There is never any thinking about anything else. Because as soon as your thought leaves this knife, you cut yourself, you cut somebody else, because you're like, oh, like, just your eyes and your mind always need to be on these knives. And you just wipe it off till it's dry. You want to dry it off completely because otherwise it'll wear down your edge. And some knives, like actually really expensive knives, like carbon steel knives, like they will rust really fast. Like these are stainless steel alloy knives, so they don't rust as easily. They do rust eventually, but if you have like a really nice carbon fiber knife, you absolutely have to keep it dry because those knives will like completely break down, like within minutes often. Like I saw one guy leave his knife on the counter and within like 7 minutes he had like this like layer of rust, and it was a bummer. He had to take it and have it professionally done. So when it comes to washing and cleaning knives, you have to be really careful. And there's a couple more things to know about using knives and keeping them clean, and it's that anything that's high acid will actually break down the edge of your knife even faster. So like lemon juice, vinegar, tomatoes, alcohol, like it's really not good for the edge of your knife. So generally what you want to do is, without fail, you want to use your knife to chop one thing and then immediately wash it and dry it. And then use your knife to chop something else and immediately wash it and dry it. Because like I've actually been careless and I've used my knife to like cut a shallot, and then not really paying attention, used it to cut something sweet. And I can tell you that like whatever it was like a cheesecake or something, it tasted like shallots, and it was seriously no bueno. And so between like the liquids and the foods that can damage your knife and just passing really unpleasant flavors from one food to another, it's really important that you wash your knife after every use. Put it in a place where you can see it. Always keep an eye on it. Make sure it's dry. Make sure it's safe. One more really important point that I don't want to forget to make is the knives do not go in the dishwasher. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, if you put a knife in the dishwasher, it actually you open the dishwasher, you're not really paying that close of attention to what's in there. You really increase the chances of cutting yourself as you're like maneuvering around the dishwasher, and then you like brush up against the edge of your knife, which you didn't notice. And the other reason you don't want to put it in a dishwasher is dishwashers get really hot and they use a lot of water. So running your knife through the dishwasher is like the equivalent of leaving your knife in a like bowl of water for like an hour or 2 hours or however long it takes for your dishwasher to run. Like that will kill the finish on your knife. It'll ruin the edge, it'll dull it much faster, but it'll also, all that hot water and soap will actually ruin the handle and the hilt. Like a lot of knives have like a nice wooden handle and they're beautiful, and that will kill the finish really quickly. So please, for the love of God, do not put your knives in the dishwasher. You also don't want to put them in the dish drainer. Like I've seen people, they wash their knives, they don't dry them, they put them in the dish drainer, and then they're just sitting there like this. And that's not great. Again, if you're not actively engaging a knife, like it always needs to be somewhere safe. So if a knife is sitting in a dishwasher and you're like doing something on the counter and you reach over here, what just happened? You just cut your arm, or you cut your finger. You're not paying attention. You're grabbing stuff out of the dish drainer to put it away. What happens? Cut your fingers. Like this never can ever can go in the dishwasher or go in the dish drainer. And beyond being like, a quality issue for the knives to keep your knives nice, it's a huge, huge safety issue.